Welcome friends! It's time for another very exciting garden tour. It just got done raining for 2 days, so it's a great time to go out to the garden and see what's going on and make a mental to-do list of what needs to get done. Let's go check it out. If you're new here at Wild Hearts Homestead, my name is Melissa. I am the mother to 2 children, and I have been working towards homesteading since 2019. Right now I have about 4,000 square feet of growing space, which includes about 3,500 square feet in my big garden, another 200 square feet in my smaller back garden, and then I also have a tea and herb garden and a berry patch, and then various flower gardens that I've sprinkled in some growing things this year. We'll start over at the berry patch. It's been the longest since I've seen that part of the garden. Well, it looks like somebody helped themselves. I'm guessing that this was deer. I have seen a doe in the yard lately hanging out. She was actually inside the chicken run the other day, jumped right over the fence. I'm guessing that she is really excited to nibble on these thornless blackberries. But if you look down here, we are getting a lot of fruit on these. These should be ripe pretty soon, so that's very exciting. Even though she did eat a lot of leaves off, we still have a lot of fruit on there. It looks like she nibbled up our grape leaves as well, but we have some grapes forming on here. So we may have to get out here and maybe put some kind of fence around here since she is nibbling on our stuff. And I will need to get out here and do some weeding. Alright, over here is where I put the asparagus in the ground. Those are looking really good. I'm so excited for these. These will be harvestable in 3 years. So this is year 1. Next year will be year 2. Year 3 will be 2026. We can start harvesting asparagus. It's a long game plant, but it's one of those that once you put it in, it just spreads. It comes back every year, and it's a very low maintenance kind of plant that will just give us continuous food once it gets established. And then we have our blueberry bushes. They're looking good. Let's see what the blueberries look like. We've got a few blueberries on there, not ripe yet. And a few blueberries on this one. Not a ton of blueberries, but these are only second-year blueberry bushes. Our pecan tree has put out lots of tassels too. That is a good sign. If you see these tassels on your pecan tree, that you are going to get good pecans this year. Or should I say pecans now that I live in the South. I love garden tours so much. It's so exciting to see what is going well in the garden. Alright, next up, let's check out the back garden. All along the perimeter, I have snow peas. I started harvesting off of those just before all this rain came. And made some stir fries. The lettuce out here is going to seed. I'm going to let it go to seed and then collect those because I really liked this lettuce and it did very well. Down here I've got dill, which is also doing pretty well. This is a holy basil. I'm probably going to come out here in the morning and do some harvesting. And then all of these tomato plants are Champagne Bubbles cherry tomatoes. They're starting to put flowers out. No fruit yet. The weather has been kind of chilly. It's going to get down to 52 tonight, which is not usual for May in South Carolina. I have onions here. These ones I leave in the ground, let them flower. The bulbs will multiply, and then I split the bulbs, put some in the freezer, put the rest back in the ground to keep growing. Those onions in the back are from seeds from these onions that I started indoors. These are all jalapenos. I am planning to save seeds on those. Usually this back garden I save for stuff that I want to save seeds from, or carrots, because carrots don't really grow that well in my front garden. So I have my beautiful cabbages over here. I'm trying to figure out if this cabbage is splitting because it is flowering, or if something came out here and took a good chunk out of it. These cabbages are out here in the back because these are the last of my Waltham 29. No, I'm kidding. These are the last of my early Jersey Wakefield cabbages, and so I am letting them go through their entire life cycle so I can save seeds from them. And then I had a random broccoli that got mixed in with the cabbages, and another champagne bubbles cherry tomato. There's a couple strawberries sprinkled in through here, some volunteer marigolds, volunteer Thai basil. There's a couple of those through here. And then these onions over here are the early grano onions. My cats like to dig in my garden, and so I've had to get a little bit creative with protecting my onions from getting dug up. These are just a couple of garlics. There's about 6 in there. My chickens had gotten loose and gotten into the garden, and 2 more jalapenos. They're starting to flower also, so we will see jalapenos pretty soon. I restarted my sunflowers and cucumbers since I had where they had gotten eaten originally, so these are all started. I started some more lettuce so that we have some fresh lettuce coming up, and then once these are getting a little bit more established, these will go in the ground. I have a strawberry out here too that just kind of had a runner that went off of the pot that they were in and decided to plant itself there. My daughter loves strawberries, and so she'll come out here every day and check the plants to see if there's any strawberries on there. I have gotten 1 bite of 1 strawberry off of the strawberry plants this year, but we did go to the strawberry farm and get a lot, so we still got to eat some and make a bunch of stuff, so it was fine. Here I have another couple of strawberry plants in this garden that wraps around the back porch, and I also put in some more asparagus back here. We've got lettuce and arugula sprinkled in here in between the flowers. There's a cabbage. I wanted to try putting some of my cool weather crops that like the shade a little bit more on this back wraparound garden that has only morning sunlight, to see if it would help it slow down the bolt. And it did slow down the bolt, but not entirely. Oh, cat's chasing a squirrel. I was trying to see what it was chasing. Alright, and then also in this back section I have 1 broccoli in here that is starting to make a beautiful broccoli head. And I have a couple trees potted up: crabapple, eastern redbud, white dogwood, a couple little trees potted up through here that once they get a little bit bigger, I'm going to plant them in the ground. I want to check our pear tree and see if we have any pears forming. Last year we got 3 pears off this pear tree, and we had a late freeze this year, so I want to see if any of our pears made it. Oh, there's one. There's a pear, little baby pear. That might be the only one on this tree. They blend in pretty well since they're the same color as the leaves. So we will keep checking. The apple trees did blossom this year, but I did not see any fruit forming on them. And I noticed these orange spots on the leaves, which I looked up, and there is a treatment for it. It says it can come from surrounding trees in the area, so we may have to treat the trees next year before the leaves come out. The tea plants got pruned, and I'm hoping to start harvesting some tea. When you pick them, you want 2 leaves and a bud, and then we have to process them to make the different types of tea, whether it's green tea, white tea, black tea. I have a bunch of elderberry shoots coming up. I've been potting them up and sharing them, and I've got a ginger back here. So, funny story, I actually started ginger last year and shared it with some friends, and then my ginger died, and so my friend shared back with me this year some of her ginger that did well last year, so it's kind of funny. The elderberry is huge. I did not prune it this year, so either the berries that form up top are going to be bird food, or I'm gonna have to get a ladder to get up there. Lots of blossoms on here. We should get a lot of elderberries this year. In the herb garden down here, I have catnip, which the animals have been enjoying. The lettuce has gotten a lot of slug damage just since it's been a very rainy spring and kind of cool. And back in here, this is our thyme. So our thyme is flowering a little bit. I still just cut it off and use it when I need it. I don't have any of it dried and saved. Same with the sage. The sage flowered, and I just took the seeds inside so I can start some more sage. The roses are gorgeous, guys. The oregano is doing really well. I just came out and harvested a bunch of it to dry. I'm going to share some with my family because I've got tons. This fennel came up from last year. It overwintered, and so we're going to try eating some of the bulbs this year. We saved seeds. We made 5-spice seasoning from the seeds. You can make tea from the seeds, and I had a bunch. I don't know if you can see that. It's tiny. I had a bunch of fennel left over from the plant swap. I had started a bunch of it thinking that it would be more popular than it was. So I went ahead and planted it. So we are going to learn how to use fennel bulbs in cooking this year. Got some more lettuce spaced in here and another holy basil. And then right over here we have a chamomile. This is my first time growing chamomile. I've been coming out and plucking flowers off when they're ready and just saving them, drying them. It's going to take a lot for me to be able to make a whole pot of tea, so it may not be that productive this year, but it will continue to spread. The flower heads will make seeds and they'll drop down and it'll spread, and we'll have even more next year. Right back behind the chamomile is the echinacea. It's got the first beautiful bloom, and there's a slug eating it. Nice. So there's a whole bunch of flower heads on here. I'm hoping to be able to harvest some of the roots from the echinacea this year for teas and different things. Back behind the echinacea, we've got kale, and the kale is doing awesome. We've harvested some of that for omelets and things. This was marked as a cabbage. We will see what this does. I deliberately put these back here because they'll get more shade, and hopefully that will help them to continue to grow and not be bothered when the heat comes. This is a rosemary. It is getting so big. Again, with the rosemary, I just chop it off and use it when I need it. I don't keep it stored and dried in the cupboard at this point. I may eventually, but not right now. I left a pumpkin here in the fall and it disintegrated, and my chickens got out and they scratched it all over, and now I've got a ton of pumpkins growing right here, so that will be fun to watch. And then I have one last thing over in my herb garden, and this is yarrow. I have not used this yet, but I have heard great things about it, so that is on the list to be able to use this year. Yarrow. I know I'm kind of going through stuff fast. I just want to make sure we have enough sunlight before we run out of time to be able to check on everything. Alright, now we get to the big garden. This first row right here is all watermelon, and they're looking really good. I came out and thinned them, and I'm really excited for watermelon. It's going to take a longer time this time, I think, since the weather's been cooler, but they were so delicious and amazing last year, so I'm super excited for watermelon. So I have this whole row. I would like to get out and plant another row of watermelon. I still have several things I still need to get planted in the ground. Then we have almost 3 rows of potatoes. 1, 2, and then this is like a half row, and then that's a half row. They've been flowering, so when potatoes flower, that means that you can go ahead and start harvesting them, but we don't have to. So like this potato here is flowering. I could harvest it if I needed the potatoes, but since the plant is doing so well, I would prefer to just let it keep growing and get those potatoes as big as possible before harvesting them. And then this over here is pretty cool. I don't know if you guys remember, back in the winter time we planted common winter rye, and I was really curious to see how it would do. I didn't know how old the seeds were. I had gotten them from a friend, and we had gotten temperatures down to like 9 degrees. Well, check this out. This is the common winter rye now. From what I have heard, it is not ready yet to harvest. So it's going to keep growing. When these start drying out and the plant starts turning yellow, then it will be time to harvest this. This is my first time growing any kind of grain, and I'm hoping to be able to start growing more grains to kind of supplement the chicken feed and save a little bit of money. Right next to it, I have a couple more jalapenos in there. I started a lot of jalapenos, so I hope we can make lots of salsa. If you have any jalapeno recipes that you like, let me know. I am kind of a wuss when it comes to spicy food. No, I'm not kind of a wuss. I'm a serious wuss when it comes to spicy food. So nothing too crazy. This was one of my projects while it was raining outside, was to get these sweet potatoes in the ground. I still have a couple more left to do, and I have more inside that need to get put out. But these are all of our sweet potatoes in the ground here. We have, this is a row of cauliflower, then we have half a row of cauliflower up here. This is broccoli and red cabbages. I've been coming out and harvesting broccoli the past couple of weeks, and we've gotten about 2 pounds of broccoli total. These broccolis were a lot smaller than the one in the back, and so my plan is next year to add some compost in here to help these grow better. We are losing light quick. Let's check on a couple last things. I got the trellis up, and so we're gonna get those green beans planted hopefully tomorrow. Let's take a look down here at the cabbage with the most enthusiasm. This purple cabbage looks amazing. It's making my mouth water. It's starting to form a little head in there. That is awesome. I sprinkled some flowers throughout here too, and I have a few more flowers I would like to plant. I put bee balm in here because my bee balm is supposed to be a perennial, but it did not come back. I have borage in here. It's starting to sprout, little sprouts. There's amaranth in here. That came up a lot. I put zinnia in here. That one I might need to reseed. It looks like it's just grass coming up in there, like it's not zinnias. We put chicory in here. That is starting to sprout. There's more amaranth in here. I believe this one's the elephant ear amaranth, the really big velvety ones. And more amaranth right there. There's a couple more cauliflowers along this outside row because I ran out of space and I had nowhere to put them, so here they are. Alright, now this is our giant wall of tomatoes. On this side until right there, these are all Roma tomatoes. On this side until almost the back right there, these are the Mexico Midget cherry tomatoes. Some of them are doing really, really great, like this one, and oh look. It's our first tomato. I'm so excited. These ones are really good. I love these for salads. But some of the seedlings are still super tiny. And I have found sometimes same seeds, same conditions, you just have variability that some of them are doing really well and they're big and luscious and beautiful, and some of them just don't. It might just be genetics. It might just be that that seedling just didn't do so well, but they can have all the same conditions and they might come out very different. So I try to plant a lot of something so that I can keep the best ones, and then the ones that don't do so well, I can go ahead and pull them out. Random cucumber stuck in here in the middle. This tomato that was here got nibbled off, so I just threw this cucumber in there. And then starting here and down, those are all the Henderson pink beefsteak tomatoes. Those ones have done very well for me every year, and sometimes those will get at least 8 feet tall and they produce a lot. So I'm super excited about that. I ran out of room for those, so I also planted those along the side over here where I can trellis them up to the exterior fence. So those tomatoes go all the way down to there. In the next row, I have bell peppers up through here. And then this is where I planted my butternut squash, and I have one butternut squash left, and there is another slug eating away at it. No thank you. Look, there's already squash bugs. Can you believe that? There's already squash bugs out. Ugh, okay. Well, my poor squashes are just having a rough time of it this year. They are not going to be the star crop of this season. In here, we're starting something new. I have done corn when I was a kid, but I have not done corn as an adult. So we have 2 different types of corn in here. It's Indian corn and sweet corn, some kind of sweet corn. I think it's like amber jewel or something like that. I'd have to look up the exact variety, but we've got a sweet corn and an Indian corn in here. And then right after that, we've got a whole bunch of holy basil. These are going to be used for making teas. Right past our holy basils starts our habanada peppers. And then we have this. This was in a flat, and it was marked as either parsley or cilantro. By tasting it, I think it's cilantro, but I am not 100% sure. And then we've got a whole bunch more habanada peppers. This is a squash. So this was in the same flat as that parsley or cilantro, and it was just marked as squash. So this will be a mystery squash to us. And then I've got one last holy basil on the end down there. This row was replanted with sunflowers, and they're starting to come up. And more slugs. Telling you guys, the slugs are real bad here this year. I've got to get out here and get some traps set up for them because they are just nibbling away at everything. But we've got a bunch of sunflowers in there, and I've got a bunch more started out back. And these are the few sunflowers that survived the slugs and are growing they're ahead of the ones that I replanted. And then on these T-posts, these are more of the Henderson pink tomatoes. So those will get tied up to these posts. And you can see behind me, this weed is creeping in through the fence. This is one of those weeds that has vines that go under the ground, and it's really difficult to get rid of. So on my to-do list is to put layers of cardboard and mulch this again, make it thicker to help keep that from coming back. And the last couple things in the garden right now, these are garlic chives, and these are our regular chives that flowered. And then there's one last thing I want to show you that I am super excited about. I got my flower bed mulched. It looks really, really good. I got my peony put in right here, and it's looking beautiful. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It's always fun doing a garden tour. It is my absolutely favorite type of video to do or to watch. If you've done a garden tour, I would love to see your video. If you post a link down below, I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks for hanging out today. I'll see you next time. Bye.